Volkswagen is a company known for making basic but dependable cars, like the Golf, the Polo, the Passat and the Lupo. While all top-selling cars and leaders in their segments, they're never the fastest, they're never the most advanced, and they're definitely never the most luxurious. Even the name Volkswagen translates as people's car, showing that they're for the everyman. However, despite this image amongst the general public, the CEO of Volkswagen Group set out to change this. Introducing Ferdinand Piëch. Piëch was the CEO of the Volkswagen Group from 1993 to 2002, but in that time he aimed to change everything. Piëch had a background in breaking barriers in motorsport, being integral to projects like the groundbreaking Porsche 917 and the earth-shattering Audi Quattro. His mission for VW and the group was to continue this form of world-beating cars. It started off by mastering some of the existing models like the Passat and the Golf, and creating new icons such as the VW Lupo. But he had far more aspirations for the marque, setting his sights on the luxury car segment. Ferdinand Piëch was known for being overly demanding and ruthless in his approach to engineering and to business. This new project was to be no exception, setting out the now infamous 10 parameters. While not all of the parameters were publicly released, there are some widely agreed upon theories. The first is the climate control would be able to keep the car at a steady 22 degrees on the interior while travelling at 186 miles an hour. Although as a footnote, the car was electronically limited to 155 miles an hour. The second is the car must maintain a torsional rigidity of 37,000 Nm per degree. For context, a standard saloon car at the time, such as the BMW E46 3 Series, has a torsional rigidity of 18,000 Nm per degree. The third point is the bonnet has to remain completely still at speeds of up to 186 miles an hour with zero vibrations. The fourth point, the paint has to be a perfect mirror finish with no orange peel and no blemishes. The fifth point, the car has to be so quiet at idle that the driver wouldn't be able to tell if the engine is on or off. Ferdinand Piëch personally hated the feeling of air blowing on his face through a blower. He wanted a system that could cool the cabin without passengers feeling any breeze. The seventh point is the windscreen wipers could function perfectly at 186 miles an hour without lifting off the glass or flailing about. For number 8, the brakes could repeatedly come to a dead stop from top speed without any fade time after time after time. The ninth point, the car must be built to last for decades, with basic components drastically over-engineered for everyday use to ensure longevity. And the final point, the passengers of the car should never be able to see the work being done, meaning all electric motors, actuators and linkages are to be hidden from the view. Many of the engineers scoffed at the parameters set, claiming some of them were impossible, but Piëch was adamant, and that is what had to be done to create the ultimate luxury saloon. Engineers went to work on the start of the VW 611 project, later becoming known as the Phaeton. They filed over 100 individual patents for mechanisms on the car, and they tested the new Phaeton in sub-zero conditions in Finland and the blisteringly hot deserts of South Africa. To satisfy some of the requirements of the project, they over-engineered the most basic components like the bonnet latch, the boot latch, and the motorised wooden panels that disguised the air conditioning. While engineers were busy developing the Phaeton, VW was building a brand new $186 million factory in Dresden, known as the Transparent Factory. Piëch wanted it to be built as he believed a car of such calibre couldn't be built in a dirty industrial plant. The factory is a direct reflection of the car, being ultra high tech and every little detail over-engineered and thought about. The floor was made from Canadian maple, allowing technicians to work with less wear and tear on their joints and feet. The tools weren't pneumatic, instead they were silent electric tools. The cars moved along the production line with an induction-powered wooden platform, replacing traditional conveyor belts, and a 40-metre tall car vending machine was installed, so customers could come and collect their brand new Phaetons directly from the factory. On paper, the VW was better in every measurable way to all of its competitors, outclassing the BMW 7 Series, the Mercedes S-Class and the Audi A8, and even taking the fight to Bentley and Rolls-Royce, who at the time were known for making outdated cars and trying to navigate the ever-developing luxury saloon segment. The Phaeton was driven and praised by journalists all around the world for the engineering prowess that Piëch was so proud of, and rightfully so. The journalists would be invited out to the wintry forests of Finland and the scorching deserts of Saudi Arabia and South Africa to demonstrate the different extremities in which the car could comfortably operate. The Phaeton went up for sale in 2002 with its lengthy CV of accolades from motoring journalists around the world. However, VW failed to foresee one thing: people's badge snobbery. VW wasn't a luxury car brand in people's mind. After all, the name did translate to people's car, and the S-Class and the 7 Series BMW kept leaping from strength to strength in sales and became a staple of the luxury saloon market, but the Phaeton struggled to find its step. After all, it was built for someone who was a shy businessman who had nothing to prove, who knew their worth and appreciated fine engineering, but didn't want the flash. But unfortunately for VW, that proved to be a very slim market, with many customers just choosing the Mercedes or BMW. The transparent factory in Dresden initially set out to produce 20,000 cars a year, but that quickly reduced, and towards the end of the Phaeton's lifespan, they were only producing 4,000 a year. To compound the already dwindling light of the Phaeton, VW were making a substantial loss on every car they sold, about $38,000, which roughly translates to $3.2 billion over the course of the car's lifetime, from development to retirement. The Phaeton went through 5 generations, with a major facelift coming in 2011 to represent the new VW design language at the time, and to more closely represent the other models in the range. Sales kept dwindling for the Phaeton, and VW slowly paring back on the luxuries that made it such a special car in the first place, introducing a V6 diesel in 2011 and slowly taking away the 6-litre W12. Amongst the VW range, the Phaeton was starting to become a bit dated, and as the 5th generation was reaching the end of its shelf life, they started work to replace the 5th generation with a fully ground up new product. The Phaeton was undergoing a full revamp for a 2nd generation, but unfortunately, VW chose to cancel the model before it was finished. They later revealed in 2022 the nearly production-ready prototype they had designed, which brought the previously dated body lines of the Phaeton up to date with, at the time, the modern range of VWs. This unfortunately marks the end of the Phaeton, retiring in 2016. However, that's not technically true, as the Phaeton does live on in China. Well, it did until 2023. But while most of the world shut off to the idea of an ultra-luxurious Volkswagen, China sees the brands a bit differently to how we see them. In China, VW is seen as a Mercedes and Audi competitor, being an ultra-refined German brand. This helped the Phaeton in China and turned it into a relatively popular model, with 50% of all Phaetons produced being sold to China. Upon the cancellation of the Phaeton, VW recognised the want for a luxury car in China and released the VW Phaeton, a Chinese exclusive car which is loosely based on the Audi A6/A7, thus marking the end of the Phaeton nameplate. The VW Phaeton was always labelled as a failure and a flop, but I don't know if I agree. The Phaeton was all about Piëch's obsession with perfection, as were his other projects at the time like the Bugatti Veyron. But I think the Phaeton was the understated perfection that Piëch was always chasing. It wasn't a fussy but beautifully designed Italian car, it wasn't a big and bargy muscly American car, it wasn't a high-tech Japanese spaceship, or a charming British car, but it never needed to be. It was an extremely well-engineered, well-proportioned, subtle but classy German car, the epitome of German sophistication.